Welcome to the Prescott Lab podcast, not just theory, practical science for everyone. I'm Dr. Jonathan Prescott, a physician and integrative medicine researcher at the Ravenshade Institute for Human Health. If you're a man in your 60s or 70s or even late 50s quietly wondering, is it just age or has something gone missing? I invite you to stay with me today. Because what if I told you that one reason so many men lose their strength in the bedroom isn't testosterone, isn't aging, isn't even desire. It's something much smaller, something hiding in plain sight. A missing vitamin, yes, a vitamin that plays a critical role in blood flow, nitric oxide, testosterone support, and cellular energy. I've spent over 3 decades helping men just like you reclaim their vitality without pills, without gimmicks, and without shame. And today's episode might just be the most important I've ever recorded. But before we dive deeper, do me a quick favor. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and hit that button. And while you're there, tap that like button too, not for me, for you. Because when you show up and click like, it tells our team, yes, this matters. It fuels us to keep researching, keep recording, and keep bringing you content that actually helps. And hey, maybe that little tap brings you something back too. A little encouragement, a little clarity, maybe even a spark in the places you thought were gone for good. Now, let's talk about the real reasons so many men over 60 lose their bedroom performance and the surprising vitamin no one's telling them about. 1. The hidden cause: what's really going wrong inside your blood vessels. Let me tell you about a man named George, 67, retired engineer, built bridges for a living. But one day he sat across from me and said, "Doc, I can't even cross the bridge to my wife's affection anymore." Now he wasn't talking about love, he was talking about performance, about confidence. And what hurt him most wasn't the decline, it was not knowing why it was happening. See, most men think it's all about testosterone, or maybe desire, or just getting old. But the truth is more surprising and frankly more hopeful, because what's really going on isn't just hormonal, it's vascular. As we age, our blood vessels, especially the microvessels in the penis, become less elastic, more inflamed, and slower to respond. Tiny capillaries that once expanded like rubber bands now tighten like old leather straps. The result: sluggish blood flow, weak response, frustration in moments that should feel alive. This process is called endothelial dysfunction, and it's the root of what most men experience as just aging. But let me ask you directly, have you ever noticed that your hands get colder than they used to? Your legs cramp more easily, that it takes longer to wake up in the mornings in every sense of the word? These are signs, not of weakness, but of circulatory fatigue. The engine's still running, but the pipes are rusty. And when blood can't flow, energy drops, erections fail. The whole system, your confidence, your joy, your connection, begins to sputter. But here's the part that matters: this isn't permanent, and it's not hopeless. In fact, many of these changes are highly reversible if you know how to support your vascular system the right way. And that's exactly what we're going to explore, starting with the most overlooked, underappreciated nutrient in male health. The one that helps repair the inner lining of your arteries, reduce inflammation, and reignite healthy blood flow. But before we dive in, let me ask you for something simple. If anything I've just said feels familiar, type 1 in the comments. If you're still unsure, type 0. Why? Because your feedback tells me what matters to you. It helps me create content that's not just scientific, but deeply personal and truly useful. And now, let's turn to that forgotten vitamin, the one that changed everything for George and might just change it for you too. 2. The forgotten vitamin: why folic acid matters more than you think. Not long ago, a man named Darren, 63, recently retired fire captain, came into my office looking both skeptical and desperate. He leaned forward and said, "Doc, is there really a vitamin that can fix this? I mean, isn't that just fluff?" I get that question a lot, and it's fair. But what if I told you this so-called women's vitamin might be one of the most powerful allies a man over 60 can have? It's called folic acid, or vitamin B9. And here's the strange part: most men have never even considered it. In fact, just last week, Leonard from Illinois asked, "Isn't folic acid just for pregnant women?" And Frank from Ohio added, "Doc, if this vitamin's so powerful, why haven't we heard about it on TV?" Good questions. The truth: folic acid is essential for circulation, nitric oxide production, red blood cell formation, and cellular repair. When levels drop, and they often do with age, the first signs appear not just in your blood work, but in your energy, your clarity, and yes, your performance. I've had countless men regain their sense of self simply by restoring this one nutrient. Not overnight, not with hype, but with quiet, cellular level support that works with the body, not against it. One man, 69, former truck driver, told me 3 weeks in, "Doc, I'm sleeping better, I feel clearer, and my wife, she's noticed too." This isn't a miracle, it's not a blue pill, it's restoration from the inside out. Now, before we dive into the blood flow science, I want to ask you directly, have you ever heard of folic acid being used for men's health before? Type yes or no in the comments. And if you're surprised like Darren was, let me know what's one thing you'd want me to explain next time. Because this podcast isn't just a lecture, it's a conversation. And your voice matters. Next, we'll uncover exactly how folic acid supports your circulation, especially the fragile blood vessels that determine whether your body responds or not. 3. How folic acid restores blood flow, the homocysteine factor. Let's get something straight right now. No blood flow equals no erection, not a soft one, not a partial one, not even a flicker of hope. It doesn't matter how much testosterone you have or how strong your desire is. If blood can't reach the right place at the right time, the body can't respond. And this is where folic acid quietly shines, you see. Folic acid isn't just good for general health. It helps regulate a specific molecule in your blood called homocysteine, and that molecule, my friend, is a silent troublemaker. When homocysteine levels get too high, which they often do as we age, they begin to damage the inner lining of your arteries. They create tiny scratches and inflammation inside the vessels, making them stiffer, narrower, and less responsive. And which arteries get hit first? The smallest ones, the ones supplying blood to the penis. That's why I've had patients, men who eat well, exercise, and even take testosterone, still come in saying, "Doc, I feel flat, nothing's working." The truth, their blood vessels are jammed up by microscopic damage they can't see, and folic acid is the tool that helps clean it up. It lowers homocysteine, it protects the endothelium, that inner lining of your vessels. It helps your arteries relax and expand. So when the moment comes, your body can rise to meet it. Now let me ask you a quick question and be honest. Have you ever had cold hands or feet even in a warm room? Have you ever felt foggy in the morning even after a good night's sleep? If so, those could be signs of vascular fatigue and your body might be asking for help. If that sounds like you, leave a comment below. You're not alone and you're not broken. You might just be missing something simple. And hey, while we're being real here, let me gently remind you, if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the time. Seriously, I won't chase you with a blood pressure cuff, but if your arteries could talk, they'd probably say, "Come on, hit that button. Let's stay flexible together." Because when you subscribe, we can keep showing up with science that speaks directly to your life, not hype, not pills, but real tools for real men. Now, what if I told you folic acid does something even more powerful than lowering homocysteine? What if it helps your body produce the very gas that powers every erection you've ever had? Let's talk about nitric oxide. 4. Natural Viagra, nitric oxide, and folic acid synergy. Let me tell you about Morris, 70 years old, used to be a high school wrestling coach. Tough guy, clear eyes, and sharp as a tack. But when he came in, he looked down and said, "Doc, I just want to feel like myself again. Is that too much to ask?" I looked at him and said, "Morris, the problem's not you, it's the spark." Let me explain. There's one molecule, just one, that determines whether or not your body can perform. Not testosterone, not dopamine, not adrenaline. It's called nitric oxide. Without it, blood vessels don't open. Without it, blood doesn't flow. Without it, nothing happens. But when nitric oxide is present, boom, your vessels dilate, blood surges, and your body responds like it used to. And guess what helps your body make more nitric oxide naturally? You already know the answer: folic acid. This humble vitamin works behind the scenes to support the enzymes that trigger nitric oxide production. Think of it like oiling the hinges of a door that's been stuck for years. Suddenly, things move again. I remember Morris blinking at me when I said this. Wait, a vitamin can do that? Yes, a vitamin can help your body do what those little blue pills try to force. Except folic acid doesn't pressure the system, it restores it. No side effects. No awkward timing. No disconnect between your mind and your body. Now I want to talk to you, yes, you listening right now. Have you ever had a moment where you felt ready mentally, emotionally, but your body didn't cooperate? That hesitation, that doubt, that's not your fault. It's your system asking for support. Drop a comment if that's ever happened to you, and if you've been embarrassed to talk about it, you're in good company. Thousands of men watch this podcast because they are tired of being silent, and you're part of that change. So stay with me, because folic acid's power doesn't stop at nitric oxide. What it does for your hormones, energy, and even fertility might surprise you even more. 5. Beyond erections, hormones, energy, and mental clarity. A few months ago, I met Jerome, 64, former Navy officer. He sat down, looked me dead in the eye, and said, "Doc, I don't even feel like a man anymore. I'm tired, I'm foggy, I'm just off." Now, that wasn't just about the bedroom, that was about identity, about feeling disconnected from himself, from his partner, from his sense of strength. And here's what I told him. Your body doesn't run on testosterone alone. It runs on a network, hormones, red blood cells, neurotransmitters, all working together. And when one nutrient quietly supports all of them, everything starts to shift. You already know what I'm talking about, folic acid. Let's break it down. It helps create red blood cells, the very ones that deliver oxygen to your muscles, brain, and reproductive organs. It supports your nervous system, allowing you to think clearer, sleep deeper, and stay emotionally balanced. It aids in the production of neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine, so your mood, focus, and even sexual desire stay alive. And in your testes, where testosterone is made, folic acid helps cells stay healthy, protects against oxidative damage, and supports steady hormone output, not spikes and crashes. Now, I want you to pause for a second and ask yourself, when was the last time you woke up feeling truly rested? Clear-headed, ready, not rushed, not dragging, just present. If that feels like a distant memory, know this, your body hasn't stopped listening. It's just been waiting for the right kind of support. And when you give it what it needs, consistently, calmly, confidently, things return, not in a dramatic movie scene way, but in the small moments, the spark of motivation again, the return of laughter, the way your partner looks at you differently. I've seen this happen too many times to call it coincidence. This is biology meeting belief, science meeting self-worth. So don't tune out yet, because even if you're eating healthy, your folic acid levels still might be too low. In the next part, I'll show you exactly how to get enough, the safest way, and how to make it work for your body. 6. How to get enough food, supplements, and dosage advice. By now you might be thinking, all right, doc, I'm convinced. Folic acid sounds like something I need, but how do I actually get enough? That's the question I love to hear, because it means you're ready to act. But here's the twist most people don't realize. Getting enough folic acid isn't as simple as just eating a salad. Let's break it down. Yes, folic acid is found naturally in leafy greens, spinach, kale, collards, also in lentils, beans, avocado, and fortified cereals. But here's the catch, absorption declines with age, and certain medications like acid reducers or blood pressure pills can block uptake entirely. That's why I often recommend supplementation for men over 60, but safely and wisely. Now, let me answer a few of the most common questions I get from my patients, and maybe from you too. 1. Doc, I eat spinach every day. Isn't that enough? Great, but probably not. Food sources help, but they rarely provide consistent amounts, and cooking destroys much of the folate content. You may still fall short, especially if your digestive system isn't absorbing well. 2. Is folic acid safe to take every day? Yes, when taken at proper doses. The standard RDA is 400 micrograms per day. But in clinical settings, I often recommend 600-800 mcg for men dealing with fatigue, poor circulation, or sexual decline, always paired with B12 to avoid masking deficiencies. 3. Isn't folic acid just for pregnant women? Nope, that's a myth. Folic acid is essential for all adults, especially men, for vascular health, cell repair, and even testosterone support. Don't let the marketing mislead you. 4. Can I just grab any folic acid from the drugstore? Be careful, many cheap brands don't absorb well. Look for methylated folate or L5-MTHF, the active form your body can use immediately, and always check for third-party testing on the label. 5. When should I take it, morning or night? Morning is best, ideally with breakfast and a glass of water. If you're also taking vitamin C and B12, they'll work together to enhance absorption and energy support. Now, if this feels like a lot, don't worry, start simple. 1 capsule, 1 morning, 1 week at a time. Because the truth is, when you consistently give your body the micronutrients it's been quietly starving for, you'll feel the shift. Maybe not overnight, but steadily, like a light turning back on. In the next part, I'll show you why folic acid isn't just about blood flow and energy, but how it might also protect your heart, brain, and even slow aging itself. 7 bonus benefits: heart, brain, and longevity. Let's be honest, when most men first hear about folic acid, they think of it as a bedroom fix. But what they don't realize is that the same nutrient that supports your performance also protects something far more important: your life. You see, folic acid isn't just helping your blood flow better. It's protecting your heart. It's nourishing your brain. And it may even be slowing the clock that's been quietly ticking beneath the surface for years. Let's start with the heart. Folic acid helps lower homocysteine, the same molecule we talked about earlier that damages blood vessels. But that damage doesn't just affect the penis. It affects the arteries that feed your brain and heart. And studies show that elevated homocysteine levels are linked to a higher risk of stroke, heart attack, and cognitive decline. When folic acid steps in, inflammation drops. Arteries relax, plaque buildup slows, blood flows easier, pressure lowers, and that alone, that's not just a win in the bedroom, that's a win in every breath you take. But now let's talk about the mind. I've had men tell me things like, "Doc, I didn't just feel better sexually, I felt clearer. The fog lifted, I could focus again." And they weren't imagining it. Folic acid supports neurotransmitter synthesis, serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine, all essential for mood, motivation, memory. It even helps prevent shrinkage in key brain regions related to aging. Think about that. A simple vitamin helping to sharpen your mind as you age, not just hold on, but thrive. And here's the part that moves me most. Folic acid acts as a powerful antioxidant. It fights off cellular stress, reduces DNA damage, and supports healthy skin, immunity, and repair. Men who support their bodies from the inside don't just feel younger, they age differently. And if you've been listening to this podcast because something in you says, "I'm not done yet," then know this, you're right. This isn't about turning back the clock. It's about moving forward with clarity, strength, and a body that backs you up. Next, I'll show you how folic acid works even better when paired with two specific minerals, the final puzzle pieces to restoring vitality. Inside and out. 8 final thoughts you're not too late to reclaim yourself. There comes a moment in every man's life when he looks in the mirror and quietly asks himself, "Is this it? Is this the energy I'm stuck with? Is this the body I have to carry? Is this the end of feeling powerful?" And after 30 years working with men from every walk of life, from ex-Marines to jazz musicians, from truck drivers to teachers, let me tell you what I've learned. It is never too late. Not if your heart's still beating. Not if you still care. The body still listens. The cells still respond. But it won't happen through wishful thinking. It happens when you decide to act. And sometimes the most powerful act is a small one, a change in mindset, a new morning routine. A single nutrient you've ignored your whole life, like folic acid, that suddenly becomes your quiet ally in the fight to stay you. Because this was never about chasing youth. It's about honoring your years with strength, clarity, and connection. So if anything I've said today struck a chord, if you found yourself nodding or even just feeling seen, I'm going to ask you for 3 things. Subscribe if you haven't. Not just to support this podcast, but to remind yourself, I'm not done, I'm still in this. Tap like right now, and may that tiny action ripple back to you in ways you don't expect. Share this with another man who needs to hear it. Your brother, your best friend, your future self. And if you've made it this far, let me say this from the heart. You are not broken. You are not too old. You are not alone. Drop a comment below, even just a 1, and I promise I'll read it. Leave your question, your concern, or your story, because this isn't a channel, it's a circle. A place where men show up, share, and rise together. So here's to you, to your heart. Your health, your second act. And may the next chapter be the strongest yet.